When I wrote this article, I was so proud of myself. The Sony a7R Mark III and Mark IV are like Galactus, eating stars. Now you're probably wondering what the f that actually means and what that has to do with Sony cameras. So let me explain. For those unfamiliar with Marvel lore, Galactus, I swear to God I messed up this take like 82,000 times. Galactus is a cosmic entity who eats planets and stars in order to sustain his life force. Now if you find that pretty badass, chances are you also find the Sony a7R Mark III and a7 Mark IV pretty badass. And taking that badass to the next level, you've probably pointed your camera at the heavens and are looking to stargaze and photograph the stars. Unfortunately for astrophotographers, the a7 Mark III and now the a7 Mark IV, which was just announced over summer, both suffer from eating stars. And in their case, it's not to sustain their cosmic energy. So what exactly does that mean? In 2017, Sony released a new firmware update for the a7R Mark III, which the a7R Mark IV also includes, which was designed to reduce noise in photos, particularly hot pixels. For everyday photography, this feature turned out to be a brilliant move by Sony, reducing a lot of noise in the background, especially in darker environments. But for stargazers, this had an unfortunate side effect, where the camera saw distant stars as background noise and tried to blur them out. If you think about it in context of a normal photo, it makes sense. The camera would see small little dots everywhere, thinking they're imperfections in the photo, and it would try to mask them so that your subject would actually pop. But in this case, the camera isn't aware that when you're pointing it at the stars that you're actually trying to photograph everything there, including dimmed stars. And so it sees it as tiny little dots of imperfection and tries to blur them out, which, as you can tell, for an astrophotographer, that's a bit of a bummer and the entire point of what they're trying to capture. Now, some people are reporting this as a problem with the a7R Mark III and the a7 Mark IV, but I really don't see it that way. According to all available data, cameras are already a niche market. As an example, Sony only manages to sell 3 million units across their entire lineup in a given year, and they've already beat out Nikon for the #2 spot in the entire world. That goes to show you that not too many people are buying cameras these days. So all of this begs the following question. If Sony's only managing to sell 3 million cameras a year, how many of those are really the a7R Mark III or the Mark IV, which are quite a bit more expensive than their other cameras, like the a7 Mark III. Chances are that's a very small portion of that 3 million users who've decided to purchase one of those cameras in a given year. And then going further down that rabbit hole, from those a7R Mark III and Mark IV buyers, how many of them are actually astrophotographers? And in reality, how many people are actually astrophotographers, period? And so when you really look at the small subset of users who are purchasing an a7R Mark III for astrophotography, you end up seeing that this is not a problem that really affects all that many people. In fact, Sony actually released this feature, one that likely helps far more people than it actually hurts. But when it suddenly gets reported as a problem, a lot of times the hot takes come out to be that the a7R Mark IV in this case has a problem, and people don't actually do a deep dive to figure out what that problem is and if it's something that actually affects them. Instead, the general consensus when you're scrolling through Twitter or going through your Facebook timeline is a7R Mark IV has a problem. And in reality, that's actually not the case. So to any astrophotographers out there, I am sorry that this camera has a problem for you, and perhaps looking at the A9 might be a better option for you. But in general, I really don't see the a7R Mark IV having a problem, no matter how many stars it's eating. After all, the camera's just got a healthy appetite. What can I say? That's a growing boy. Speaking of growing boys, help me grow this channel by hitting that subscribe button, triple clicking that notification button, so it ultimately lands up on you having notifications so you know when I post my next video, and make sure to heart and share this video on all your favorite socials. As Galactus would say, get into my belly! Wrong movie.
Get in my belly!